The air in the New York City federal courtroom is thick with anticipation as the second week of Diddy's high-stakes sex trafficking trial gets underway. Today marks a crucial turning point, a day where the foundation of the entire legal battle will be solidified. The primary order of business? Seating the jury, the 12 individuals and 6 alternates who will ultimately hold the power to decide Diddy's fate. But beyond the procedural aspects, today also promises a glimpse into the competing narratives that will shape this trial, with opening statements from both the prosecution and the defense set to unfold. Think about the immense pressure in that courtroom. 43 potential jurors remain, each with their own backgrounds, biases, and understanding of the complex issues at hand. The task today is to whittle that pool down to a carefully selected 18. Diddy's defense team has expressed optimism for a swift process, armed with 10 preemptive challenges, the ability to dismiss potential jurors without needing to provide a specific reason. The prosecution, equally strategic, holds 6 such challenges. This delicate dance of selection, where both sides carefully assess and dismiss individuals they believe might be unfavorable to their case, will set the stage for everything that follows. What specific types of backgrounds or statements from potential jurors might trigger these preemptive challenges from either the defense or the prosecution? What subtle cues are the lawyers looking for as they try to assemble a jury that will be receptive to their side of the story? Once the crucial task of jury selection is complete, the courtroom will shift its focus to the opening statements. This is where both the prosecution and the defense get their first real opportunity to lay out their respective cases, to paint a picture for the newly impaneled jury of what they intend to prove over the course of the trial. Diddy's defense team has already offered some hints at their strategy, signaling a potentially controversial approach. They've previously suggested in court that Diddy is more swinger than criminal, attempting to contextualize his alleged behavior within a framework of consensual sexual activity rather than exploitation. Furthermore, they've indicated they will argue that the physical violence with Cassie, one of the key figures in this case, was both ways, suggesting a dynamic of mutual aggression rather than solely Diddy as the perpetrator. How will the defense elaborate on this swinger argument? What specific evidence or testimony might they present to support the claim of mutual violence with Cassie, and how will they attempt to reconcile this with the serious charges of sex trafficking and racketeering? On the other side, the prosecution will finally have their chance to present their opening remarks. After weeks of legal maneuvering and behind-the-scenes preparations, they will lay out the evidence they intend to present to convince the jury that Diddy is guilty of the 5 serious charges he faces, relating to sex trafficking, prostitution, and racketeering. It will be fascinating to see the narrative they construct, the key pieces of evidence they choose to highlight, and the overall tone they adopt as they seek to persuade the jury of Diddy's criminal culpability. What specific pieces of evidence, beyond the alleged incidents with Cassie, are the prosecution likely to emphasize in their opening statement to establish a pattern of sex trafficking and racketeering? Will they focus on the testimonies of other alleged victims or on documentary evidence they have gathered? The process of selecting a jury in a high-profile case like Diddy's is a meticulous and often lengthy affair. With 43 potential jurors remaining, the attorneys on both sides will be engaged in a delicate dance of observation, questioning, if permitted in this jurisdiction during voir dire, and strategic dismissal. Each side is looking for individuals who they believe will be most receptive to their arguments and least likely to be swayed by the opposition. The defense's assertion that this process should be quick and easy might be more of an optimistic statement than a realistic expectation, especially given the sensitive nature of the charges and the intense media scrutiny surrounding the case. The 16 preemptive challenges, 10 for the defense and 6 for the prosecution, are crucial tools in this selection process. These strikes for cause allow the attorneys to remove potential jurors they believe harbor biases, have conflicts of interest, or have expressed opinions that could prejudice them against their client. For the defense, they might be looking to exclude individuals who have strong views against sexual misconduct or who might be easily swayed by the celebrity status of the defendant. Conversely, the prosecution might seek to exclude potential jurors who have expressed skepticism towards accusers in similar cases or who might be perceived as being overly sympathetic to wealthy or influential individuals. The subtle cues lawyers look for can range from verbal responses to body language, attempting to gauge the underlying beliefs and values of each prospective juror. The composition of this final jury of 12, along with the 6 alternates, will ultimately shape the trajectory and potential outcome of the trial. Once the jury is finally impaneled and sworn in, the focus will shift to the opening statements. This is a pivotal moment where each side gets to present their initial roadmap of the case to the jury. It's not an opportunity to present evidence, but rather to outline what they intend to prove through the evidence and testimony that will follow. Diddy's defense team has already telegraphed a potentially controversial strategy. Their assertion that Diddy is more swinger than criminal suggests they will attempt to frame his alleged interactions within the context of consensual, albeit perhaps unconventional, sexual practices. This could involve trying to establish that any sexual encounters were voluntary and that the power dynamics alleged by the prosecution were either absent or mischaracterized. The defense's claim that the physical violence with Cassie went both ways is another key element of their strategy. By suggesting mutual aggression, they may be attempting to undermine Cassie's credibility as a sole victim and potentially explain any evidence of physical harm as part of a volatile relationship rather than solely as acts of abuse perpetrated by Diddy. The challenge for the defense will be to reconcile these arguments with the serious charges of sex trafficking and racketeering, which imply a pattern of exploitation and coercion that goes far beyond consensual sexual activity or isolated incidents of mutual combat. They will need to convince the jury that the prosecution's portrayal of Diddy as a criminal mastermind orchestrating a sex trafficking ring is inaccurate and that the reality is something far less sinister. On the other side, the prosecution's opening statement will be highly anticipated. They carry the burden of proof and will need to clearly articulate how the evidence they present will demonstrate Diddy's guilt on the 5 charges he faces. They will likely weave a narrative that portrays Diddy not as a participant in consensual sexual activities, but as someone who used his power and influence to exploit, control, and traffic individuals for sex. The prosecution might highlight specific alleged instances of coercion, manipulation, and the movement of individuals across state lines for the purpose of illegal sexual activity. They may also present evidence they believe establishes a pattern of racketeering, suggesting that these alleged sex trafficking activities were part of a larger criminal enterprise orchestrated by Diddy. The opening statement will be their opportunity to grab the jury's attention, lay out the framework of their case, and prime them to understand the significance of the evidence and witness testimony that will follow. It will be crucial for them to present a compelling and credible narrative that directly addresses each of the 5 charges against Diddy. The fact that the prosecution intends to call at least 3 witnesses this week signals that they are prepared to move swiftly into presenting their case. These initial witnesses could be key figures in their narrative, potentially offering first-hand accounts of the alleged sex trafficking, prostitution, or racketeering activities. The order in which these witnesses are called and the specific details of their anticipated testimony will be closely watched for clues about the prosecution's overall strategy. While it remains uncertain if a witness will take the stand today, the groundwork is being laid for the evidentiary phase of the trial to begin imminently. The coming days will be crucial in revealing the strength of the prosecution's evidence and how effectively the defense will attempt to counter their claims. The trial of Diddy is entering a critical stage where the competing narratives will begin to be tested against the weight of evidence and the scrutiny of the jury. The world of celebrity and entertainment, and indeed the wider public, will be keenly observing as this complex and controversial case unfolds. Make sure you stay locked in to CEtrends for all the latest updates, expert analysis, and behind-the-scenes insights into this landmark trial. We'll be breaking down the key testimonies, dissecting the legal strategies, and providing you with the context you need to understand the significance of every development. If you're interested in other high-profile celebrity legal battles and in-depth analyses of complex legal strategies, be sure to check out our playlist on Diddy vs. Cassie, the truth about their violent relationship. Or our video on Diddy's Hidden Victim 5, What Are They Afraid to Reveal? You can find the links on your screen right now. Don't forget to subscribe to CEtrends and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any crucial updates in this and other trending celebrity news stories. Your support helps us bring you the in-depth coverage you deserve.